Hello, and thank you to all who have chosen to watch this video. My name is Diya Patel, I am 14 years old, and I am here to educate you on the impact of dairy on people and the environment. Milk is good for you. It contains calcium that makes your bones grow stronger. Without milk, you won't ever grow tall. Generally, this is the sort of reply you'll get if you ask about why you drink dairy in the first place. But what if I were to tell you that 75% of the world population is lactose intolerant, and that if you are capable of drinking cow's milk, you actually have a genetic mutation? Facts like these are the kind you don't generally learn in today's health books. But before we discuss the milk, we need to discuss its provider. For all of our lives, society has painted a beautiful picture of dairy farming in our eyes. However, it's important to know that mass production and animal welfare are mutually non-existent. A dairy cow's horrible career begins at the age of only 15 months, when they are led onto narrow traps called cattle crushes, more commonly referred to by the farmers as rape racks. This is where female cows are artificially inseminated. In case you didn't know, cows can only produce milk when they are pregnant, or shortly after they have given birth. For this reason, dairy cows are forced to be pregnant at almost all times after 15 months of age. Mothers and their calves share a very strong bond, just like humans. Despite this, dairy farmers will snatch calves away from their mothers within only a few short hours of birth. Separation is traumatizing for them, and cries from both parent and child can be heard for weeks. If the calf is female, she will follow the same route her mother did. If the calf is male, he will be butchered within a few months, or even weeks, depending on whether or not he is fit for the veal industry. The following slide contains graphic images of a cow being killed. If you are not comfortable with blood, please do not feel compelled to look, but know that the following images are important to understand what these animals suffer through. As a whole, female cows suffer much more than male cows. While male cows are immediately slaughtered, either for the veal industry or simple uselessness, female dairy cows are sexually exploited non-stop starting from the age of 15 months, forcibly impregnated for the duration of their lives, traumatized from the loss of every single one of their children, and then killed. The lifespan of the average healthy cow is 25 years. However, the life of a dairy cow barely lasts for 4. And no, the majority of dairy cows aren't slaughtered. Instead, their bodies give up on them after extreme exhaustion. Of course, the industry won't let the few survivors live either, as they are killed shortly after they slow their milk production, at around 5 or 6 years of age. With such a detrimental industry comes a disturbing level of corruption, which all began in World War I. At the time, the government demanded a large amount of canned and powdered milk product to provide for the soldiers fighting overseas. To keep up with these demands, many farmers quit traditional crops and went into the dairy business, and by the end of the war, there was so much surplus dairy that the government had to intervene. To get rid of it all, government agencies pushed it onto schools, back onto the military, and even other countries in the name of foreign aid. By the 1980s, $2 billion a year were being spent on getting rid of milk. Even in this day and age, the dairy industry spends millions of dollars for politicians to promote companies and protect their interests. Currently, the dairy industry spends $50 million annually just for the promotion of chocolate milk in schools. On one hand, students are taught to avoid sodas and sugary drinks, but on the other hand, most schools still provide 1 carton of chocolate milk to students every day. The USDA recommends for children a limit of 3 teaspoons of refined sugar daily, but a single serving of chocolate milk contains more than 6 teaspoons. So, why do we like milk so much anyways? It's a bit strange if you think about it. Humans and bovines are completely different species, but our liking towards dairy has led us to mistreat cows in horrible, gruesome ways and lie to everybody about it. When put in that light, it seems to be less of a liking and more of an unhealthy infatuation. There has to be something more to milk than just its taste. And there is. All types of milk, including human milk, contain a special protein called casein. When casein protein is digested, it produces casomorphin. Casomorphin is an opiate compound. Essentially, it's an opioid. It is also, as its name suggests, more addictive than the standard medical morphine. Casomorphins also can't be removed from dairy, as they form after consumption. These habit-forming particles travel to the brain and attach to the same receptors that alcohol and narcotics attach themselves to. Human milk contains 2.7 grams per liter of casein, but cow's milk contains a whopping 26 grams per liter. That's right, cow's milk is only a decimal short of having 10 times more casomorphin than the milk that's actually meant for our bodies. No wonder we're obsessed with this stuff. It's highly addictive. Another problem is, some people are so focused on their extra cheesy cheeseburgers and Instagram-worthy milkshakes that they don't really question the environmental impacts of milk either. The production of milk wastes a lot of water. For every 1 gallon of milk produced, 4.5 times as much water is used. In 2018, the US produced 217.5 billion pounds of milk, which according to my calculations, can be converted to roughly 26 billion gallons. That means that in 2018 alone, 117 billion gallons of water were used in dairy production. This water could have been conserved or used more productively, especially with the droughts, heat waves, and wildfires that the planet had faced this year. But don't worry, your cheeseburgers and milkshakes still take priority. It's already been mentioned that the dairy that people consume isn't actually meant for human consumption. To further add to this argument, cows produce milk to feed their young, not to satisfy the cravings of millions and billions of people. It's only fair to say that milk isn't really meant for us, but there's actually a lot of science to back up that statement. First of all, Homo sapiens sapiens is a frugivorous species. To be frugivorous means to rely on a diet that consists of mainly, if not completely, fruit. Yes, you heard me right. Fruit. Think about it. We like sugar. We like sweet. We like the sugars that we found in nature so much that we created refined sugars to replicate the taste. Look at this picture. The majority of us eat omnivorously. However, the shape of our jaws and teeth nearly mirror the picture of the frugivore on the right. Clearly, we aren't eating what we're supposed to, because there's no way our teeth are built like the true omnivore on the left. Humans also have trichromatic vision. Basically, it's the way our eyes perceive the colors of the rainbow. This type of vision naturally aids us in spotting out the bright colors of fruit, colors that could be dull to other animals with different types of color perception. Other species with trichromatic vision like ours are mainly frugivorous. Another reason why dairy isn't designed for the human body: lactose. Remember the very first fact about how 75% of all humans are lactose intolerant? To build on that, newborns are almost never lactose intolerant, and when they are, it's usually a complication of another disorder, as all human milk does contain lactose. Lactose intolerance begins showing its symptoms only after the age of 3, which is when children should be done drinking their mother's milk. Coincidence? I think not. Lactose intolerance is supposed to happen. It's natural. Lactose intolerance is the body's way of weaning off of milk to move on to solid food substances. Lactase persistence is a genetic mutation that allows the body to continue to be able to digest dairy way past the weaning period. This mutation only became apparent in a historical timeline after the production of milk became more regular. Following this time, health problems began to become more regular as well. Milk and dairy are a major component of the top sources of saturated fat in the American diet. Let's look at number 1 on the list: cheese. Cheese is very high in caloric value, as it is made from high concentrations of milk. While 1 cup of milk has 149 calories, a cup of cheese contains almost 1,000. The problem is, nearly all of these extra calories come from fat. Excess fats lead to a large percentage of the biggest killers in America. Out of all the factors on this list, excess intake of saturated fats are directly correlated with heart disease, cancer, chronic lower respiratory diseases, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, influenza and pneumonia, and finally kidney disease. 8 out of the top 10 leading causes of death. Fats are also known to interfere with muscle function as they weaken and reduce the number of mitochondria in the cells and therefore slow metabolism. While there's a lot that you and even I still don't know about the dairy industry, chances are the facts that we do know have been manipulated. Here's a pretty common opinion. Non-GMO milk is free from GMOs. Yeah, you can probably tell where this is heading. Let's just say that what's written on the label doesn't always match up with what's behind the label. While the milk that you drink hasn't been directly modified, nobody says anything about what to feed the cows. On this graph, the dark purple represents the percentage of the soybean crop grown from genetically modified seed. 60% of all produced soybean is sent to be used as livestock feed. A similar situation exists for several other grains fed to the cows that give us our milk. None of the dairy itself is modified, exactly like our labels say. Just everything that goes into it. Milk is supposed to be good for your bones, right? Why? Because calcium. I'm not sure if we were even taught much more than that. 1 cup of milk contains 305 milligrams of calcium. This is equivalent to 10 sesame seeds. Of course, sesame is exceptionally calcium rich, but the point is, if the only reason why you drink milk is for its nutritional value, you might want to rethink that. There was a government study done that proved that for males, intake of dairy in adolescence led to a higher risk of hip fracture, a condition generally associated with weak and brittle bones. Not only this, but while my research didn't go into depth about the following impacts, there have been studies that prove that milk intake is also connected with mortality from certain cancers, as well as SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome. Alright, let's summarize everything we went through. First, farmers will exploit cows, then slaughter them in the name of producing milk. This milk is then processed, wasting tons of water that could have been used for more pressing concerns along the way. Then it is distributed to billions of oblivious consumers. It's also not known to the consumers that milk was never meant for them in the first place, as the human species is designed to consume fruit. Finally, to enforce the fact that everything you know about milk is a lie, it can be found that milk does nothing for what it's meant to help with and instead does further damage. So, now that we know the true impact of dairy on human health and the environment, what can we do to fix it? The better way is, you can try to at least put a limit on your dairy intake. The best option would be to stop completely. It might be difficult at first, but I can tell you from experience that once you stop completely, you really won't feel the need to start again. If you're really willing to take the extra mile, try to go fully off of animal products and go vegan. Through my research of this topic, I was inspired to go vegan too. I propose to you the 1-week dairy-free challenge. To anyone who is interested, you can try to remove milk products from your plate for a week, or as long as you would like. If you want to do it for a day, I'm cool with that too. We have the internet at the tips of our fingers, and there are thousands of dairy-free and vegan recipes that you can try to make. If you aren't able to or aren't comfortable with making any lifestyle changes just yet, but you still support the topic, please spread the word. If nobody knows about a problem, there's no way it's going to be fixed. Dairy has been a favorite for centuries, but finally, with your help, it's time for that to end. Here are some citations. Here are more citations. Thank you once again to everybody who watched us through, and I really hope you were inspired to make a change. I would like to invite everybody to put any questions, comments, and concerns into the comment section below, or email us at PrudentLifeedu@gmail.com. Thank you!